Hi, my name is Eliot Bernstein, and I approve this message. This is my campaign presidential platform for 2012, brought to you live. Enjoy. Hi, my name is Eliot Bernstein, and I have an important message for the world today. So important that I couldn't find my teeth. So I'm going to bring this message to you, which is very important. Toothless on the top. The bottoms also come out, but they're in now. But I can't find the top. So we're going to move on with this very important message. And the message centers around my presidential campaign for 2012. Not that I want to be elected as your president. Not that I wouldn't do it, on the other hand, if necessary, if nobody else has the ability to put forth the agenda and platform that I want to run on, which is to change the country entirely. And so, with no further ado and with no teeth, if I were your president, first I'd like to introduce you to myself, Eliot Ivan Bernstein, and my campaign agenda for the 2012 presidential election. And I'd further like to enlist your support in taking back our country from a leadership which is basically corrupted. Today I'll outline my basic agenda if I'm elected, and it's far from mainstream and even left or right. So it's politically correct, on the other hand, so politically correct that it'll hurt. And bear with me here in learning why these changes I suggest are necessary to saving first and then restoring our democratic republic for the people and by the people. These changes can lead our children and the country, the nation as a whole, into the next decades in a positive course, as a global leader again and a futuristic nation versus our current course today under a corrupted government and leadership, which is basically taking us on a crash course to hell. My platform begins with the people's constitutional rights. The Constitution and your Bill of Rights demands that we, the people, including me, toothless and all, correct our government if it corrupts, and if the military fails in its duties to impeach and then try people who commit crimes in our government. The people have certain inalienable rights, including the right to bear arms, against corrupt government, if that becomes necessary. And that's in order to restore law and order, when those charged with upholding it are the ones that are violating it. So when the government becomes corrupt, it's the people's right in the end, if the military fails to, prosecute either in a military or civilian court our leaders when they corrupt against us in like a tyrannous coup. But we'll get into a little bit more of that in a minute. My platform requires a complete 180 degrees from the rest of the CFR lobbyists, candidates, and CFR being the Council on Foreign Relations, which has picked most of your presidents in secret behind closed doors long before your vote, which doesn't count, as the Supreme Court now picks our presidents or makes rulings like Citizens United where corporations pick your presidents. And so, you can see freedom has eroded right there in the fact that your vote doesn't count. But nonetheless, my platform requires a looking back, not look forward platform first. You can note that Obama came in and said, let's move forward. Well, I don't agree with that, because you can't move forward without going back and correcting what happened to our Constitution, why our leaders corrupted, how they corrupted, and why they're not getting prosecuted for crimes they've committed. In other words, above the law, which then, kills our whole system by having no law. We become a lawless society, and I think most people can see that occurring right now. The fox appears to be in the henhouse, and it is a bloodbath. But let me get back to my platform, and it is a look-back platform where to fix the nation going forward, if in fact the government is corrupted and committed war and economic crimes and financial crimes against the world, we can't first look forward. We have to see if there was a treason upon the United States, and if war crimes were committed by our leaders of the United States. And a treason, I pretty much in my campaign intend to prove that there was a coup d'etat on the United States by some very bad dudes, let's call them, all the way to the top, and mostly at the top. The middle and bottom of our government was later pushed out by the coup and replaced with coupsters, let's call them. But it started where they seized the top of the government, where the Supreme Court voted 5-4 to put Bush in, usurping the people's vote. And since then, your vote has never counted. And the races are all lies, and the politicians are all being placed in there with agendas. And they make it look like there's, a political show going on. But that's all nonsense. And I think everybody's seen the nightly news more as Goebbels' propaganda channel than anything else. Anyways, Article 2, Section 4, and let me read that to you because it's an important little piece here that we're going to need if I'm going to be the president. And it's disqualification rights. The president, so if I get president, this is what can disqualify me. The president, vice president, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. Sadly, in our nation today, due to the criminal leadership that I intend on proving to the American people began with a plan, an actual architected coup, which is a conspiracy, not a conspiracy theory here, but legal conspiracy, full of facts. And I intend to prove that the conspiracy exists among a large group of people, mostly CFR, Bilderberger, that group of people who are mostly our Congress people, lawmakers, judges, politicians, and regulators who are also all together in on this, all through the common element of legal degrees mostly. Your president's got a law degree, the war crimes are authorized by lawyers, the invasions, all of this is legally constructed. The demise of the financial markets has been constructed through legal instruments like derivatives, CDOs, all this synthetic nonsense. That was intentionally put there to destroy the world economy and bring out the Amiro is what I think they plan on naming it, according to reports. But this is controlled, and it's costing millions of people jobs and millions of people food on their table, and losses in their home equity and losses in their pensions, and soon the states will be bankrupt because the fox is in the henhouse stealing from the American people, and nobody's there to block them. The prosecutors are in on it, the judges are in on it, and they've pushed out everybody who could block him. You see them harassing whistleblowers, instituting all kinds of crazy laws and changes we need that we've never needed. Changes to our Constitution and changes to every fundamental right we have. I'll get to all those things later in my campaign speeches. But let me move on. What I intend on proving is that the conspiracy was a conspiracy to commit treason and sedition. And then from there, the financial crimes become more of an economic warfare as part of that tyrannous coup and overthrow of our government. The coup involves multiple parties, including politicians, lawyers, judges, regulators, and prosecutors, that all plan this together. And they plan to commit a multiplicity of crimes against the people of the nation and then spread that out across the world. And you can see how the financial markets of certain countries have been wiped out, and that is a form of economic warfare. Let's see, and I'm not the greatest public speaker. Of course, I don't have teeth, so it doesn't really make public speaking a beautiful thing. But nonetheless, this coup we can refer to, and has commonly become referred to, as the New World Order. I call it the New World Disorder, as it involves truly psychotic delusions of grandeur by the main principal conspirators, who are truly living in delusion. Very similar to the Nazi Party, and in fact, evidence that we'll present in my presidential campaign to prove the coup will show that many of the conspirators who are within government right now are actual Nazi bloodlines, or were U.S. businessmen, etc., that were aiding and giving comfort to the enemy, like Prescott Bush, the Bush's grandfather. His company was seized for trading with the enemy, the Nazis, and yet we vote in their sons, or they were placed in there and you were led to believe these were presidential candidates who went to Yale. I mean, if George Bush went to Yale, Yale has no value anymore. If Barack Obama is a constitutional scholar, Harvard has lost all of its posh, for these people are just given degrees. Hillary Clinton, editor of the law. I mean, have you seen anything that Barack Obama's put out as a constitutional scholar to protect our Constitution? Have you seen one paper, one word? George Bush, anything from this guy that, you know, made any sense at all? I mean, he was a flunky coke addict, druggy. It's so disgusting. And, you know, the mainstream media, of course, builds them up because they're part of the CFR, as well proved too. And let me continue on into where I'd like to take the country. The coup went into a full swing, beginning with the hijacking of the presidency in the 2000 Bush v. Gore election, when the Supreme Court decided our decider for us in a 5-4 vote, which anointed Bush our president or king or decider, and usurped the people's votes that were never counted. And so this act of election fraud is the initial act of the coup, which had been planning and plotting, I'll show you, since the defeat of Hitler. They had just gone into secret cults like Yale Skull and Bones, and Harvard has a few clubs where they formulated to rebuild the Reich, the Fourth Reich, right here in America. And we actually imported, through a lot of World War II plans like Operation Paperclip, to actually import Nazis into our country, give them even Jewish identities, priest identities, all kinds of identities that their Nazi pasts were wiped away. And now you see them, but you can't identify that they were Nazis. Some of them we have. And we'll get through a whole bunch of those people who have ties to the Nazis. Karl Rove, Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Bush family. The list is very long, and we did bring in thousands of these Nazis. So they have reformed here, and I will prove that case in my presidential candidacy. If you vote for me, and you're more than welcome to vote for me. I don't know exactly how we do that. But that act of election fraud is the initial act. It's where the country no longer was a democracy at all. Meaning, once you lose your vote, you've lost everything in the country. And you can see that slowly it's being dwindled away, and your rights are being chipped away, and you're being locked in at the borders, and you're being locked in at the airports. And this follows a very Nazi pattern. But again, we'll get to that stuff later. Today, I just want to get my basic agenda out there. So the coup hijacked our president.